Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. Let's talk about cost. And, like when you went in, I don't know if you can either do things on a commission basis or a fee basis in financial services. I don't know what you're doing now. Is it fee-based or is it
commission?
It is commission. And so the thing is that when you're paying a fee to people, like you and your ex, when you started you were 3 years into your real estate business, you wanted to you break out and move up. And so you found this top dog coach in real estate, and it about broke your bank to go in there. But the way to look at what you successfully looked at it, your payoff was that, and you never know, you're never guaranteed success, but your payoff was that you became built a top 10 office for over 5 years in the biggest real estate company in the world, which is, amazingly successful. And so the way of looking at that was not what it cost you to pay for his services, what it would cost you if you didn't pay for his services, right? It's like that's where we tell people about coming to certain meetings or this, that, the other. What's it going to cost you if you don't go,
Yeah. And I remember that too. As we were moving up the ranks, I could look around me and see people that were doing better. And then at some point we were doing better, and I would analyze it. What is it that they're doing or that I'm doing? And it really was hiring the right person, having the right people in our world that were doing bigger things, and us taking the action and putting in the work to be more successful. We would see people, they would go to a networking event, but they would hang out with the same people. And how do you learn and grow if the same people are all doing the same thing and they're not learning and growing? And I heard this analogy recently, and I love it because I'm a visual person, is if you take the closest people around you and they're not either more successful in different areas, or if they're not uplifting, or if they're not challenging you, or you're not bouncing ideas off of each other, then you're in a cage. There's no way for you to grow in the cage. And so I love that analogy because it gives you a very visual picture that you need to break out of that cage to find new people to be around so that you guys can continue to help each other grow and excel, so that I can give back to my clients and help them too.
Yeah. And the thing is that, you learn things, you settle into patterns, like one of the business coaches that I was listening to recently was talking about routines. They have a deal where, you can run courses like anybody can. You want to start off as a business coach, you offer a coaching series on setting up routines in your life, which is, to get the underlying principle is that general consistency usually wins, almost always wins. And people that win have winning routines in their life where they somehow figured out how to get done on a regular basis the things that are difference makers. If it's the health, if it's the nutrition, if it's the working out, if it's the family relationships, it's the recreational aspects, if it's the what the most important business numbers are, what the most important business activities are that lead to those numbers coming in. They've got routines on that, and that's called life. That's designing a life. Like one of the things that I never realized I did this, Angela, but we had I guess 10 years ago, my son came down from North Carolina with one of his buddies, and they came into my condo or my townhouse down there. And the guy said, man, it smells great in here. And, and I said, just without thinking, I didn't even realize this. I said, yeah, that's by design, because I just like walking in a smelly house. I have those little scent things around where, it just smells good. You don't have to have fresh cut flowers all the time. You can have these things. So I said, yeah, that's by design. And like 2 years later, my son reminded me of that because I didn't think anything of it, but they obviously talk about it all the time. And it's like in your life, if you want good things to happen, like wherever I live, Angela, I'm having the cleaners come in twice a week. I don't need them that much, but I want them that much. I just don't.
And you don't want to clean toilets.
If I've only been gone one day, on a flight or this, I come back one day. I want the cleaners to come in, stay on your schedule. And, it's like by design. And if you've got a successful business, any successful aspect of your life is either by neglect or it's going to be by design. And what are some things that you have in your life that maybe you haven't even thought about with your routines that really are by design? There's like, no, you make that happen.
Oh, absolutely. It's by design. The way that I start my day is I journal. I'm writing what I'm grateful for because I want to start my day in a positive manner. The way that I approach life is I want to teach people about investing. But who wants to listen to a negative person? So I really spend a lot of time on my own mindset, starting my day in a positive manner. I don't go check my phone first. I don't allow, the faucet or the fire hydrant of the world to be turned on. I'm in a quiet space and I'm reflecting on what my goals are and what I'm very grateful for. And it could be simple things like the sun is shining today, just finding every piece of my life that I'm grateful for. But then I end my day. And don't laugh at me at this one, but I don't have like regular TV. I don't watch Netflix or Hulu or any of those thingies because for me, it's a waste of money. But I'll turn on my free YouTube and I watch funny videos because I want to go to bed laughing and feeling happy. And then I roll right back in the next day and I start it in a positive manner because I feel like the more positive I can feel, then the more people will listen to me. The more that I can teach, the more people I can impact. And that's my purpose. And that's my why as to what I do.
And what that is, and I got started on the journaling a long time ago too. And I, start the same way. And there's a variety of ways you can do it. I like that better than meditation. Meditation, I've always thought was, the way I understood it was stupid because you just let your mind empty. Well, the Bible says you let your mind empty, you throw out all the spirit, then 7 worse spirits will come in. If there's a void, there's not going to be a void. So I'm like you, I want to fill up my head with positives and make sure there's no empty space in my head where the negatives can come in. And if they do come in, you can kind of bounce them off, because they're going to try and get in there all day long. And so and then I heard recently somebody, they were talking about getting sleep and routines to get to sleep. I'd never heard this before. He listens to outtakes from Seinfeld off of YouTube every night as he's going to sleep. So he goes to sleep in a good frame of mind.
Yeah, I watch 2 TV shows. Like you can only watch the clips for free on YouTube, but Impractical Jokers, Ridiculousness. And I like watching like cats and dogs fall over. It's just something fun to watch, easygoing at the end of the night.
Yeah, baby things, where babies are doing crazy stuff or kids, And so the thing is that what that has to do with us managing ourselves. And one of the great realizations I had when I wrote my book, Serial Winner, back in 2015 was that, wait a minute, we've all got to be our own best self coach. Because in life, especially if you're an entrepreneur, high achiever, things happen so fast. You don't have time to always call in the special expert coach and explain 1,000 parameters to this nightmare situation and then expect an instant answer back from them. It's just not the way life works. You got to make decisions on the run when you're going to be a high achiever. And so you have, first of all, if you can't coach yourself, nobody else really can. Eventually, you got to get to where you can keep yourself on track. And that, we're challenged to do that all the time. And so the first thing is like, how am I going to make sure I stay as positive as possible? And people ask me why I do the podcast. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing the podcast, but the one reason I do it is to keep me from turning into a grouchy old man, you know.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching million-dollar earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
The natural thing of life is you become experienced, but you know, high achievers see success, but they also, for every success, they see 9 disasters. You know, they overcome the 9 disasters out of 10 things that happen so they can have that 1 out of 10. But, you know, all of those things, they accumulate. And so as you go through life, it's like, oh, not that again. And so it's natural. It's not that you're a bad person or something. It's just natural that the trajectory of life is just, you'll be, I used to say, why do billionaires bitch? Okay. Because many billionaires just seem to be grumpy all the time. And the thing is that they're smarter than the rest of us, probably. I'm sure there's some lucky ones that are dumber than us, but probably they're pretty sharp. And they probably see a whole lot more things that are wrong in life than you and I see. And it probably just drives them nuts. That's the only thing I could figure out. But for me, I try to do things like you say, and that's the first step. So what's the second step you would say in terms of your activity to make sure your activities, once you got yourself, your mindset right, that you do build into a day, week, month, year to make sure you're on the right activity track?
Yeah, for me, I usually have 3 to 5 big focuses. So for example, my health right now is my biggest focus. I've had some issues this past year. So when I'm making decisions every day, if those decisions don't fit into my top priorities right now, then the answer is no. And it doesn't mean no forever. It's just no right now. If I don't stay super focused on my priorities, then you're just going to get sidetracked and you're not going to accomplish what you want if you're allowing all the little distractions to take you in a direction that you don't want to be in.
And so what are the other, and now when it comes into the activities for your business to make sure that, one of those that you've set in place to make sure that, your mind's going to be on business and you're going to have a certain amount of regular exposure to new people is the podcast, and to set that up as by design, And so what other things would you say that you have going on, your activities that cause you to continue to circulate, get out in the public and be able to expand your brand?
Yeah, so the podcast is one of my priorities right now. I'm top 5% in the world and I want to be top 1% because I feel like if I can reach more people and teach them about money, then that will have a greater impact. So if I'm going to events or activities, I'm very focused on who I'm meeting. And since I interview women on my podcast, I seek out women. I ask, what exciting project are you working on right now? And it gives me a good perspective on whether or not they might be a good candidate. And then we can have a conversation about that. But I'm going to events with intention of who I want to meet that's going to help me to reach my goals, impacting more people.
Yeah. Now, as a podcast host yourself, you can help coach me up here. What are some good questions that you find really useful in getting people to open up? Because when you get them, they're on there, there's always a little tension, or you get the standard routine, the standard running for president speech they give every podcaster. There's like the first 30 minutes is always the same stuff they talk about everywhere. But how do you break through that barrier of the standard thing and get behind the scenes to get the fresh stuff that maybe, they've never been asked before,
Yeah, a couple things. You got to throw in a fun question. My fun question is, and I ask it at the end. I used to ask it in the beginning, and I found I got better answers at the end. So we test things to see how they work. But my fun question is, if you could have a superpower, what would it be and why? And when you kind of change the focus from their business to something different, it helps them open up their mind to having conversations that aren't so focused on themselves. So I like that aspect. And also, I do use ChatGPT a little bit. So if I know a guest is coming on and I know what their field is, I'll say, like, what are some 10 outside of the box or fun questions to ask someone who's a financial advisor? And then kind of tweak those questions and make them a little bit more relevant or interesting for me. And then I ask those questions.
Okay, Angela, let me inform you, that's cheating. On behalf of the podcasters of the world, I'm going to just tell you, you're cheating.
Hey, the advance of AI is here, whether you like it or not. I'm going to use it to help my business.
All right, now, I'm not sure I know what to answer to the superpower thing, so I'm going to ask you, what superpower would you want?
Yeah, so I see superpower, super talent. For me, I would love to be able to sing in a voice that people would receive. So
Really?
I'm a church person, and when I get up there and I listen to the gospel singing, and it just moves my heart,
Yeah.
that's an incredible feeling. And to have that kind of positive impact on someone else, I think would just be amazing.
Wow. Very interesting. I would have never thought of that one. Now, when you go and look forward, once you get through your, when the health is not, the thing is, that's like life balance, is that as you go through life, your priorities change. That's what people who don't understand, basically they're boneheads. That's why, again, there's the fake amateur life coaches that, have had no life experience. There's God, family, business, and it's like, we got to do this every hour of the day. It's like, very rigid. The thing about life is that a person who has achieved things like yourself is you realize how complicated it is. God, night. It's twists and, every person every situation has 1,000 variations, and you got to think on your feet all the time and keep yourself organized, evaluate the situation, make sure you say things that are, and it's for podcast hosts. I think we should say a prayer at the end of every podcast of gratitude that we didn't say something inadvertently that pisses the whole world off, that's going to ruin our entire reputation. When you're talking like this, it's so easy to blurt out something and, offend the world, but the life is so complicated. And the thing about balance is you have different priorities at different times, for example, your health is your priority right now. However, if something happened with your daughter and then she had a health issue, now that's the number one priority. You're focusing on that and your health is down the, we'll get to that later, right? Until we get the daughter right. And so we all go through life sorting of priorities. And that's how we establish the value of our life, is what we put our mindset, on, and where we've invested our time and our energy and talents. Is why do a lot of us believe that we were created for purposes, and right from the beginning, we were created with a purpose. And if that was true, why do you think you came out of a poverty? The purpose that has turned out of your life, helping people financially. How do you think that purpose was, helped to be realized by sticking you in a poverty background right from the beginning?
Because I can relate and I can be empathetic. Who wants to listen to someone about transforming your life and becoming wealthy and financially free if you started with a family that was millions of dollars, already had millions of dollars in the bank? The person that doesn't have money can't relate to them. So they think, well, that can't be me because I didn't start that way. But the fact that I came from poverty and I studied money and now I'm teaching people, it relates to people because now they can see that it's possible. And when you can give them the possibility, then they're going to start taking action because they can relate to your story. And that's why the podcasting is so important, is because we can share each other's stories so that hopefully you're reaching someone else in your audience that might not have related to something you said, but they might relate to something I said, which is going to be the cause and effect, right? The cause is being that now they can relate to the story. The effect is they're going to make a change because now it's possible.
Absolutely. Well said. I appreciate all your time. We've had a great afternoon. And so I like to give my guests the final word. And, you think we've covered everything at this point, but I've always found that there's something left to say if I'll give the guest the chance. And so, Angela, what would you pass on to people that are coming up the pipeline, the next generation, or the people who are going to create the next great sensational successes out there and impact the world in a positive way? What would you say to encourage them or to help them focus from your experience?
Yeah. Be selfish. Spend that first time of your day for yourself. Control that environment that is around you. Invest in yourself. And so that to me is being selfish, because you need to take care of yourself first in order to impact the people around you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Angela. Look forward to seeing how your business grows. And we'll have to check in down the road. And especially since we're not too far apart down there in South Florida. It seems like the whole world is moving to Florida. Well, take care. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.